Hey, dude. Happy weekend, my brother. Oh man, it's kind of nice that it's like we were talking about Army of the Dead non-spoilers, and now we're getting to go full bore into it. Are you excited? I'm excited.
Absolutely. I've been waiting to talk about this since we saw the movie last week. I know we did drop our non-spoiler review, and it was admittedly kind of tough not like wanting to blurt out all
Oh,
the things that I wanted
absolutely,
to
it
talk
was
about.
tough. Yeah, it's like I want to talk about so much, and it's just like I mean, maybe hopefully I didn't spoil it for any of you guys, but I
I hope I
really
did
wanted
not.
to. I really wanted to go into it, but let's get started real quick. Before we get into because like I said, actually a couple things. One, now it being on Netflix, did you find it harder to watch? Like, were you more distracted at home, or was it pretty easy to get through again?
No, I would say it was actually pretty easy to get through again. I actually came down to visit some family, and we like to do these Friday movie nights. It was just kind of a thing we did during the pandemic, and the majority of last year, it was just something we like to do every Friday night, and it worked out perfectly. Coming down, new movie up on Netflix, and I told them let's throw it on and watch it, and so we get our snacks and stuff, get around the TV. Lights come down and we watch the movie. So it wasn't really distracting at all for me. It was actually pretty cool.
Okay, well that's good. I think for me, just because I wasn't, because in the theater I try and be pretty good about it, especially if I'm really into the movie. I don't look at my phone at all. I just ignore the shit out of it.
Hmm.
But being at home, it was a little hard to get through. But when I finally did, I was
Is
like,
it maybe
man,
because you've also seen it already? I mean, it
oh
could be
yeah,
one of those things like
that's,
maybe if had you seen it or like this was your first time watching it on Netflix, do you think maybe you wouldn't have been? Because it is one of those things, right? You're watching movies at home. It's easier to kind of get distracted by the phone. Admittedly, that's still something that happens, to me, and I'll admit that.
yeah. I think that kind of played into it this time, and not that I wasn't looking forward to this movie, but I think maybe just because we saw it in theaters and I was able to sit and watch it. I was kind of in that mindset, like, I already seen it. It's on Netflix. I'm gonna keep rewatching it anyways, which I already
Right.
am. Um, and actually, I got my dad to watch it the other day, like when it came out on Friday, just before I went to work, and he finished it later in the day. He's like, it was good. He had his thoughts on it, but overall, he really liked it. So it was like, sweet. 'Cause if I get my dad to like something, then mostly it's good.
Yeah,
We did.
everybody else who saw it with me enjoyed it too. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I disagree with him on Gangster Squad, but
Hey, I mean, everybody's got their entertainment. Movies are subjective, and it's fine if you like bad movies, but it's okay.
Mas or Manos. But okay, and then has your rating changed from 4 out of 5 since the second viewing? Before we get into our stuff.
No, I would say it's probably just more solidified itself as a 4. I was wondering if it would probably go up or down, but there wasn't anything that I saw within my second viewing that made me knock it down even more or made me pick it up even like up a point. So no, it's very much still a solid 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with that. But guys, since we both like this movie, we're both keeping it out of 4 out of 5 rantings. We're gonna switch it up. I know people like to go pros and cons. Their dessert first, their veggies second. But I like to, if the dessert's delicious, like this movie was, I'm gonna save it for last. I'm gonna earn that.
That's
So let's get into the things we necessarily didn't not that kind of not took us out of it, but maybe we just didn't care for, or things
Yeah.
they could have improved upon.
Yeah, just like the little negatives or nitpicks, just the things that didn't work so much for us in this movie, which admittedly is not much for me personally.
No, not much at all. But Bern, why don't you start us off on things, and I'll just follow your lead on that.
For sure, yeah. So the couple things that kind of did bug me, and I know that it was one of those things that was kind of done on purpose. Just listening to a lot of interviews done by Snyder, in the lead up to the movie and the release, he was saying how he wanted this movie to be really tropey, like really playing into the zombie genre and like playing on the formulas of what's kind of expected. And he definitely did that, I will say. And I understand that it's kind of like poking fun at the genre, I guess, but at the end of the day, it is also still in the movie. So it's just one of those things that I think maybe worked against it a little bit more than it worked for it. So what I mean by that is playing into the tropes of, let's just say, characters making really dumb decisions in order for the plot to happen. You know, which is kind of one of those tropes that happen in zombie movies, and not just zombie movies, but horror movies in general. You know, characters don't always make the smartest choices, because if they did, then they probably wouldn't be a movie because of it. And it was just one of those things in the beginning of the movie. For me, I thought that the military characters, those guys in the convoy, made some dumb choices. I mean, when you see a zombie attacking your boys, you know, and coming out of the container just mauling people, why do you run into an open field instead of jumping back in the Humvee and like hauling ass out of there, you know? So it's kind of like, oh man,
Yeah.
like I mean, unless the car was just like not working, they could have maybe like shown like him try to start the car up and it just didn't work, and then that would give a little bit more of an explanation.
Now that you're pointing that out, I didn't think about it. I'm like, yeah, there was a car. Why didn't they just take the car? Damn it. I think I was just too into the moment where I was like, no, just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Bro, let's get the fuck out of here.
And then when the two guys, you know, run out into the field, the one's guy's like, I think we're okay. You know, we should be good here. And the other guy's like, no, we're not good. He was like, okay,
It's
you're
like
right.
you just went over the hill.
Yeah,
You're
all
not,
you
you're
did
not
was
out of
run
the
a few feet, you know, in that direction. You're not in the clear.
It's like, you know, he could just go over that hill, and you know, you're not like. I mean,
It's like
again,
there
it's
isn't
a movie,
a barrier
so
protecting you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a horror trope where, you know, characters don't make the smart decisions and they end up paying for it. So I can forgive it, you know, to let the plot happen, but it's just still one of those things that it's there. So it is going to bug me a little bit.
yeah, okay, I could agree with that. I was gonna ask, you know, did it have anything to do with, you know, like Dave Bautista's daughter's character, Ella Purnell's Kate? Was it her like running off to Olympus? I thought, because I know that's been like a critique of some people.
Actually,
like, why?
yeah, and I do want to bring that up. Maybe when we get into the positives and we start talking about characters, because I know her character is a negative for a lot of people, and I think that's kind of.
I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, because they're overlooking a very big thing where that's just like a lot of people's opinions on that should not be geared towards her character.
No,
So-
I think maybe people are just missing the picture on it, because when I watched it, I'm like, both times I've seen it going into that mindset of like, am I just tripping, or is there something wrong? We'll get to that later, but okay, so character tropes, what else kind of turned you off on it?
So it was just that in the beginning, and it was kind of funny. I noticed it on my second viewing how a lot of a lot of characters will just like stare at each other for a long time, and then something bad will happen. and I think it's one of those things that's maybe a little bit more magnified because those moments are done in slow motion, you know, where these characters are looking at each other. I'm sure in real time it's like a really quick glance and then the bad thing happens, but because it's played in slow motion, it makes the moment feel a little bit longer, so it makes you feel like, why are you guys staring at each other? We should jump in the goddamn helicopter and get out of there.
We just stare at each other, just Bernie.
Yeah. Look out behind you.
That is a bit of a double-edged sword. I did notice that a little bit more in this movie the second time around, like a little too much use of the slow. Like, I love his slow-mo stuff. He is the master of that. I can't think of any other director who can nail that perfectly besides him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a couple moments I thought, okay, this is a little too much. Let's speed this up. Come on now. We already seen it in this part, but to kind of add on to that, like within like kind of camera things, I thought there was way too much of the blurred effect.
Okay.
Like the out of focus scenes. I thought there were a few too many moments where it was like, it's so blurred and you can't see it, and I guess it's supposed to be that like mysterious feel to add like what's going on, just to be obscure, and kind of like that horror trope of like you can't quite see everything on purpose. I just thought that was a couple scenes, especially like when the zombie queen is coming back again, because you know the coyote and Garrett Dillahunt's character, I forgot his name,
Martin.
but they're drawing her out. I thought that was like, okay, I've already seen this. And then when Kate gets off the bus to give him a ride to the quarantine zone, I thought that was a little like, we already know who she is. We don't need this again.
Yeah, because I thought what was going to happen was, you know, the bus pulls up in, like you said, in the blur, and I thought she was going to walk into focus. But it didn't happen. It was literally just a blurred shot of them the bus pulling up. So yeah, I can totally see it. It didn't bug me as much personally. I think it was
I just thought there was too much of it.
I can totally understand that. Yeah, like I said, it didn't bug me, but I very much get why it could kind of get a little bit too much for some people.
Yeah, but anyways, keep going. Anything else you want to add to our cons before we move on to the pros?
Yeah, I would say the two subplots that were happening in the movie, they felt like to me at least, they were a little bit half baked. The two subplots being Scott and his daughter, like their sort of reconciliation together, because I know like it sets up that their relationship is a little bit estranged after he had to kill her mom because she turned into a zombie, and he was under the impression that because he did that she couldn't forgive him. And they just have that conversation when he's refilling the generator, and she tells him that that wasn't the reason that she was mad at him. It was just that he wasn't there for her afterwards. So I felt like maybe we could have at least used one more conversation or like a little heart to heart between them before the very end, where their next heart to heart was at the end of the movie after the chopper goes down and he's dying. I thought they could have used at least one more beat between the two of them.
Yeah, like maybe just a little more clarity or like I don't know. I could see that. That's a fair thing. What was the other subplot that bugged you?
I wouldn't say as much bugged me as because it doesn't really have so much an effect on the movie. But I felt like if it didn't really play that much of a big part, then why even have it? Was I guess the slight romantic subplot between Ana de la Reguera's character. And
I'm glad you agree with me on that.
Scott,
yeah,
because it does. The movie does, and I did the second time see where it does kind of hint that there is a little bit of a history between them two, just in the way they like act around each other and just like little mannerisms that they have when they're together. It just felt like when it comes to the scene in the vault right before they're about to get killed by the zombie horde that's coming onto them, and she's having that really like emotional like moment. It just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, like everything seemed fine up until that point, and then all of a sudden they're like hauling money and she's like having this really emotional moment and kind of pouring her heart out. I thought that maybe if they sprinkled in a little bit more conversations between the two of them, kind of like accentuating that subplot, it wouldn't have felt like it was just like, wait, what's going on? Like, why are you acting this way all of a sudden?
That's exactly how I felt, the same way. And I mean, I'm not bothered by it the second time around, but it is one of those things I'm like, there's still nothing to hint that there was something going on. Like I got the vibe they were close. They did a good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Ana de la Reguera and Dave Bautista did a great job portraying like they have this bond. Like they're kind of two against the world kind of thing without dating.
Yeah.
But then she throws that out like I didn't come for the money, I came for you. It's like, what? Like you kind of did come for them. Like there was no real indication that it was like that. So I kind of thought, why even put it in there when there's no real hint of it? And I mean, I was already invested in the characters before. Like that didn't change my mind on it. Like I still love her as a character, but I just thought that was just. But again, I think it was one of those things like you said. He played into the tropes a lot, where it's just like somebody has to be in love in this group, but I think that didn't help it. Wasn't really necessary for me at least.
Yeah, and I think it was less of a setup for the characters to have like a real bond, as it was more set up for the shock of her dying in that really, really instant, like almost like out of nowhere way, where the zombie comes out of the elevator and just snaps her neck like all of a sudden. I think it was more set up for that to be shocking than it was for those characters to actually have like a relationship. It was more in service of that beat than it was for them.
Yeah, but I don't think he would, even without that part, and she still got her head turned around. I would have the same fucking reaction. Just, oh no!
Oh yeah,
Maria!
Encarnacion!
I was just like that guy from Benchwarmers 2, just Maria. Why? Why did you die on me, Maria?
I know. Why did you leave me?
Maria, why did you leave me, huh?
So many albinos.
But no, I'm glad you agree with me on that. I didn't know if it was just like me really picking into it, but that was just one I was like, I don't need this, but whatever, I'll take it. It's there. They would make a nice couple in that movie, but
Yeah.
because he was married and stuff, I just didn't think there was that connection at all. I just thought they were like thick as thieves kind of people, but
Right. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Like they did have the chemistry. Like their interpersonal like chemistry was there. It's just that plot line wasn't
think it
really
would've
like
worked.
set up. You know.
I think it would have worked better if it's like that point they just decided to try and be a thing. Like, maybe they kissed or something, like where it's like, oh, okay, like not only are we getting money, but you're getting the girl. Like, I get you, Dave. Like, you get it, my friend.
Or like maybe when he goes to recruit her in the beginning, and they could have had that conversation like, hey, like, this isn't an easy choice for me. Like we had this thing and it didn't end well between us, and I don't know if just something
Yeah, like,
where they mention that they have a bit of a past together, and it makes her choice to join this heist crew a little bit more of like a I'm not sure.
Exactly. That I think that would have worked as well. But either way, I mean, you can't change it. I'm not an editor. I'm not a story writer. I'm just here. I just view things and I give my own personal opinion, like every person on the internet.
Yeah, and they both die, so it's not like it would have gone anywhere.
Spoiler alert.
In the spoiler review, you got spoiled, folks.
Exactly. Anything else, or shall we move into the good stuff, the things we loved about this movie?
Yeah, I just have one more thing. For the most part, I thought the effects were pretty good in the movie, but there were just like certain spots where it was a little iffy, and I did notice it more seeing it, on my TV here, and seeing how that's probably the way the majority of the people are going to see this movie. I think they would probably have the same reactions. It's just a couple of moments, here and there where I thought for the most part Tig Notaro's being visually put in there after the fact, because like we mentioned in our non-spoiler review, she replaced Chris D'Elia as a character in the movie, so her scenes she didn't shoot with any of the cast, so she's put in there as a special effect essentially, and I thought for the most part it worked. But there was just a couple of moments, right in the beginning when they get into Vegas. There's a shot of them walking through, and her lighting is kind of weird. So
she stuck out like a sore thumb. It was bad. That part I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it was really just the lighting. It looks like there was a whole different set of lights there. So if people didn't notice it, then fine. Maybe
cool.
maybe I noticed it because I was looking for it. Yeah, admittedly, I was looking for it because I knew going in that she wasn't originally in the movie. So it might be one of those things where people who were just watching without knowing didn't notice it, and that's cool. That's totally fine. But I can only speak for myself, and it did stick out that moment. And then the other moment that did stick out to me that of not being that great of a visual effect was when Zeus jumps into the helicopter, and then they start flying through the city, and he's kind of like hanging out of the thing. It just looked kind of bad, and I was like, man, everything else up to this point was pretty spot on, and that one just kind of stuck out. Again, these are just like nitpicks. None of this really destroyed the movie for me, so that's really just me looking for things to complain about, really.
Yeah, because I don't want to come off as a total just suck. A succubus, a suckle up.
Suckle up to the Zach God.
Yeah, just because. But I mean, besides these things actually like me pointing out, I mean, like, yeah, they definitely could have improved upon. My pros totally outweigh the cons on this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like, how do I put it? It's not like a movie I struggled. It's not like Without Remorse where I had to find ways to defend it. Like, that movie was definitely with its problems, and even Those Who Wish Me Dead, it was just hard to like it. This one was not hard to like at all.
No.
So I think it's time we should move into the good stuff about this movie, and I think Bernie, we could both agree that this had some of the coolest cast and like characters for this movie.
Yes, it definitely did. I really liked all the characters essentially, and in the spoiler-free review, I said they were one note. I wasn't really like looking. I couldn't find the right words to describe what they were. What I meant to say was they were archetypes. They were very much
Yeah.
those badass archetypes, but they were also very very interesting and very unique. And I didn't really give that much credit in the spoiler-free review, so I'm sorry about that. It's just one of those things where you're trying to look for the words and they don't come to you, and that was just one of those moments for me that I thought that all these characters were really interesting and the actors elevated the roles because admittedly when you have an ensemble this big, you can't give everybody as much of a fleshed out backstory as you would want to. That's just the nature of the game when you have that big of a cast. Unless it's a TV series, you're not going to give everybody their due. But I thought the way that the actors portrayed them gave them a lot of dimensionality.
Yeah, and actually, before I continue on, I know we're into the pros section now, but I guess to sum up for me, the cons were just wanting more out of this movie in the best way. Like, in the way, what I mean, also just to kind of make sense of it, is that when you say I think they should have done more in a bad movie, that means they left a lot of stuff out that would have helped it. But being me personally really loving this movie, I wanted more. Where I couldn't get enough of it. I want to keep diving into this because Zack Snyder is the builder of worlds. He did some of the best world building, and with these characters, another thing besides like the uniqueness, which you did point out, and I totally forgot about it. And actually, I think I liked it more the second time around. That was one of the things that improved upon for me because I kind of went into this not knowing some of these characters or these actors, thinking like, there's going to be some that are going to fall completely flat for me. But there actually really wasn't. Everyone stepped up their game, even for their character. And I think because they knew that they weren't going to have the most screen time or that their story wasn't necessarily the main focus, kind of like Dave Bautista's, Anna de la Greer's, Anna Purnell's, and who else? And Omari Hardwick's. And I forgot the German guy, Matthias Schofer? I can't say his last name.
I can't really pronounce his name, but Matthias, yeah.
But besides those characters, everybody else did a great job. Raul Castillo, Richard Citrone, and Samantha Wynn. Those two stuntmen did fantastic jobs. She was Chambers, which is easily like, I hate to say it, I think she's my favorite character besides Scott
really
Ward
cool.
and besides Vanderhoof, who was Amari Hardwick, and Scott Ward. She is my third favorite person, and Anna de la Greer is like right behind her, just right underneath her, just because she had such a great scene. Where she was one of those, like Matthias' character Dieter, they've never killed zombies before, so they're kind of just like there, like, yeah, what do we do? Mm-hmm. And it was a fight or flight response in her scene where Martin's character Garrett Dillahunt fucked her on the kitchen, just as like gotcha bitch, threw the little light stick down the wrong way and just kind of screwed her that way. I was like, you motherfucker. She fucking fought through all these a horde of zombies by herself, just stabbing at them. Like after she got over her, like, all right, this is gross.
I did like that beat where she stabs him in the head and like almost vomits. Like I would have had that same reaction. It made that moment feel more real than it would have been. She
did, and that's what I'm saying. She's not only a great like action performer, she is a solid actress in this movie. Even though she had hardly anything to say, she just embodied like this chola going into Vegas and like fucking owning it. Like she really stepped up.
Yeah. I did see some people complaining about that scene, how after she jumps out of the window, how like kind of nobody goes to help her, even Guzman, who's kind of just standing there. And I do kind of agree a little bit that like maybe they could have done more, but at that point it's like they got to get out of there, and they also don't know if she's been bitten or not. She was in that hallway, so it could have been one of those things where, they could have gone back and saved her, and it could have potentially got more people killed. Or, they did save her, and she was already bitten. So it's like, it was like off or not. So I can forgive it on that point. It wasn't one of those things that bugged me. I was just like, it just, maybe it wasn't staged the best way, but for me, it would have been like, she was kind of gone already. There was really no way they could have saved her by that point.
Yeah, I mean, we could make arguments all day about why they should have changed up, but again, it's one of those things. It's just a movie. It happened, and again, it's one of those shocking scenes, and especially for the characters, it's like, holy shit, she survived. But it's like there's a whole horde behind her. Like, we can't waste the ammo. We can't waste time. We gotta go, kind of thing. But and then to continue on that, another great thing I loved about the characters and the cast is easily this is one of the most diverse casts I've ever seen as well for a movie
Absolutely.
like this. Directed by a white guy, this is a pretty diverse movie. If let's, I'm just putting it bluntly. Like Dave Bautista leading this movie as a Filipino Greek character, Ana de la Reguera, a Mexican, Raul Castillo, potentially another Hispanic character, and Samantha Wynn. Also, she's Canadian, and I actually have it right here. Let me see. Hold on.
Chinese,
Hold
I
on.
believe you said, right?
Chinese Canadian, yes, and again, and that's what I loved about it. Amara Hardwick, one of the coolest characters in here, African American man. Like, he did such a great job balancing it because most movies they have like a lot more white people than they do, like minorities or like people of other ethnicities. But this is the total opposite. I thought that kind of added more richer like culture to this movie, like a different
Yeah.
like it just added more variety to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you even have a French actress. I forget the actress's name who played Lily the coyote. And
Nora as Arneze. I can't say her name. Let's just call her Nora.
Nora, yeah. and as we mentioned before, Matthias, he's a German actor. So we're getting people from, who we've never seen before.
And Hiroyuki Sanada, who is Japanese, even though he was, again, another asshole character, he still added some diversity to this. So that's why I just love Snyder, man. Like, he does try and do the right things in his movies, and like that's why I pay mad respect when it comes to the characters.
Yeah, and he makes them all so badass. One of the things that makes a character memorable is their look. That's one of the things that just visually we connect with, where we're like, okay, that character has a distinct look and they look cool, and all these characters look cool. And since we're on the subject of characters, I would like to retract one of my negatives last episode. Not the last episode, the spoiler-free review, where I said I had an issue with a lot of the characters dying so close within one another. It's just one of those things where you see a movie once and you kind of, being in the theater, you don't really have a good sense of time. Seeing it now at home, I was able to see, okay, all these characters start dying off in the third act. So it makes sense, story and plot wise, for this to be the moment, especially, with after Martin kills the zombie queen, it decapitates her and, completely destroys the truce. It's like, shit's going to hit the fan. And it really did. And, with the shocking death of Ana de la Reguera's character, it's one of those things where, okay, everything is in the playing field now. Like, anybody can go, and I like that the movie didn't backtrack on that. That it didn't like wuss out and actually did kill a lot of the characters off. Everybody got killed off. So it was a negative in the beginning because I thought, okay, it felt like it happened too quick. But then seeing it again, it's like, okay, this happens in the third act. We've had the story up to this point. This is time for things to pop off, and it wasn't a negative for me the second time around.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you on that. And honestly, like, again, watching it at home, I think that was one thing that also improved for me, where it felt a little more natural how everybody was going. Like, it was just that domino effect. Like, once the queen was basically killed off, sort of, that was the domino just started all, and it just became a total shit show. And it's one of those everything went downhill.
Yeah, and it made the zombies feel competent in being these scary monsters. If it were one of those things where, like you said, like the bad things start happening and the characters just start miraculously making it out of these impossible situations, then you're like, okay, now you're stretching the realm of disbelief here. And I'm glad the movie, like I said, it didn't do that. It stuck to its guns and was like, people are going to start dying.
Yeah, and that's another thing with Zack Snyder being his second zombie movie, that nobody's free to survive. Essentially, this is almost like death will come for you one way or another. It may not be at this second, it could be the next, it could be years from now. But in this movie too, it's just like nobody's exempt from death, and everybody unfortunately bit the dust except for Kate. She was the only good-hearted person. Yeah. But
and since we're on Kate, as we were mentioning before, that a lot of people, or a lot of reviews I've been seeing, or like people commenting I've seen on like different forums and stuff, will say that they really hated her character, and for the reason being that she got everybody killed. and I was like, you must have been watching a completely different movie because she didn't get anybody killed. It was it was Martin's fault. It was Martin's fault that everybody died. It's Martin's fault. Like, he's the one who broke the truce by decapitating the queen, and he's also the one that locked the hatch while he was trying to go escape and stuff. He's the one that got people killed. It was not Kate's character that got people killed. And they were saying,
no, there's no way to really even prove that, just because if everything did go according to plan, or if Garrett Dillahunt didn't try and fuck everybody over, most of them probably would have survived. Mm-hmm. But because he was that, I hate to say it, but he was that white dude who he was looking out for himself and his money. He was just like, fuck it, you guys are all expendable, I don't give a shit. And he just dipped. So it was like, yeah, selfish.
And then they were saying, like, her going to the Olympus and trying to save Gita and those two other women also got, Scott and them killed. But it's like, no, they would have made it out if Peters didn't have that moment where she left for a brief second when the helicopter, only to come back, a few like seconds later. It's like, had she just been on that landing platform, they could have gone in and got out before Zeus, recovered from the grenade shot and came back to the roof.
I think everybody fails to realize that with a heist movie, greed is usually the thing that gets you killed.
Absolutely.
And, like, Triple Frontier, that's actually what this movie reminded my dad of, just because if you remember, like, and then for any of those who have seen it or haven't, basically the point is, if you're greedy, it may not pan out for you. Technically it won't, just because you're not doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for your own selfish reasons. And that was the point of this movie, is that they did it for the money, and that's not the best reason.
Yeah. Kate's character was the only one of the whole group that went in with pure intention. She had the only intention to go save Gita and bring her back to her kids, and she's the only one who survived. Again, like you said, it's a commentary on money and greed, and so obviously her being the pure of heart, she's going to be the only one that's going to survive. So if you didn't like her character, sorry, but that's just the message of the movie.
I think it speaks more to what your real intentions are when it comes to the situation. So maybe you should, for those of you who didn't like Kate, maybe you should rethink why you legitimately didn't like her. Because personally, she was another character I actually really liked. I thought she was going to be kind of annoying just because hearing everybody's critiques and stuff, but honestly, she was a good person. It's kind of hard not to like her. Like, she stands up for the right reasons. She tried to help Gita. She knew, she's like, don't go into Vegas. It's not worth your life for your kids. Like, she knew the important stuff.
And it wasn't like she was a detriment. Like, she was able to hold her own for the most part. Like, when
she aced those whole zombies in the hallway, which is like, oh dang, like, exactly. She can shoot.
If it weren't for that bed blocking the doorway, she would have aced them and they would have made it out there. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't see how people can watch the movie and say that she was a detriment to the team and she directly got them killed. It's like, no, that is just factually not true.
You know what, Bernie? Because I'm blind. But let me segue into another thing. So this is actually kind of a twofer. Another reason that I love this movie, and actually, again, another thing that improved for me, was the intro and the action scenes.
Oh my God.
Just because the intro, like, anything that's not DC for Zack Snyder, he does the greatest, like, musical, like the introduction to the movie that sets the tone and really fills in the backstory of everything with the catchy song. Like Dawn of the Dead, you had Johnny Cash's Man Comes Around, Watchmen, The Times They Are Changing, Sucker Punch, Sweet Dreams. And what else? Guardians of Ga'Hoole, I don't really remember, to be honest. That was just a kid's movie.
But, I mean, what was it?
Guardian Hours of Legends.
The Hours of Legend, yes. And then, and Batman vs. Superman, the beautiful lie, the dream sequence of the Wayne murders. I thought that was really beautifully done. And
but I don't count that in the same thing. But, yeah, I do get what you mean. Yeah, you did another great intro.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean, where it's more of a... So like a musical type thing where it's like it can kind of be its own music video is what you're like thinking, almost.
Absolutely, and again, it set the tone for this movie. Like, after Zeus and those other couple soldiers that he infected, looking at zombies, and then we just have this guy who always reminds me of Pee Wee Herman every time I see it, because it's like the third time I'm watching it. I'm actually gonna watch it again after we're finished, and he's just like a 1, a 2. 3 and 4. Like, he's dressed like Liberace.
Yeah, Liberace impersonator.
And I really like the cover song of Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah, with Richard Cheese. I thought that was a great callback to Dawn of the Dead when he did the cover of Down with the Sickness, right?
Yeah, and I really like that, like seeing like the zombies just kind of screwing up Vegas, Zeus coming in his own identity, and we see the Lost Vengeance crew, which is, when Scott Ward, Maria Vanderhoof, they all kind of were a part of the search and rescue team. Like, they all basically enlisted in the so-called zombie wars in this world.
Yeah.
And then, this is a kind of a cool thing, and one thing I kind of still was bothered by, the soccer mom. As much as I liked her character, that she was kind of leading the search and rescue team, I'm kind of upset that there wasn't enough on her, that she just died off in the beginning. But I guess it was just kind of foreshadowing, like, you may have good intentions when you're doing all this stuff, but in the end, death will get you. So
yeah,
it was kind of a sad, like a bittersweet thing where she turns into such a normal person, and then her hair is all like, braided up a little bit.
She's getting tattoos,
and then but her and her daughter just get crushed in the last block of the container wall of Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a wall made of containers which contained things, and they contained Vegas.
Yeah. Oh my god. it's containerception. It's a fourth wall break inside of a fourth wall break.
That's like 16 walls.
16 walls. Yeah, no, I mean, so I agree with you that opening was awesome. It did a really good job of one, being a lot of fun, and two, setting the tone for the movie, of giving you the backstory of everything, how the downfall of Vegas happened, how Zeus came to come into power. I like that little moment of him looking at the Olympus Hotel Casino and seeing the Zeus statue, and that's kind of like how he...
That's his identity.
Yeah, that's how he identifies himself. I thought that was like a really cool beat that I don't know if a lot of people picked up on that. I thought that was really awesome for his character. And yeah, like the whole thing with the soccer mom, it was like a whole short film in and of itself. Like, the whole opening could have been its own movie, and that would have been awesome. But the fact that we got all that in like this like brief like 2 to 3 minute sequence, I thought was really well done.
Yeah, I just wish they could have done like a couple. That's actually another kind of pro con, a double-edged sword, where I wish they could have done a little more flashback scenes to that time, the zombie wars, just to get a little bit more interactions with them. That could have cleared up the whole love connection between Scott and Maria.
True.
The soccer mom, and how she kind of helped the team along.
But I mean, maybe it's one of those things where I know we're getting that prequel animated series, so maybe they're gonna expand more on that. I don't know if they're gonna focus on the Last Vengeance crew in particular. We don't know yet. We don't really know too much about the animated prequel. So it could be one of those things that does get expanded upon in the future.
Yeah, I just we're gonna have to we'll talk about that a little bit. What I want more out of these movies. And then again, the whole casino scene when they're fighting the alphas, and Scott just gets on the craps or blackjack tables and just running Ace and zombies along. That was that, and the Samantha Wynn's like rampage scene. Those were the best scenes for me. Like, I was like, I could watch these scenes over and over again, and I'm set for this. Yeah,
absolutely. Those two action sequences were really awesome because they're both characters just cutting loose on these zombies. Samantha Wynn fighting to survive and get out of that situation, and Scott, after losing what's her character's name? Maria, yeah, losing Maria in the movie, and just the fight, him taking them out afterwards, and how he picks up that zombie and just smashes his head on the ceiling.
Yeah, that was crazy.
We just get to see him cut loose, and that whole escape the casino sequence was so awesome. There was really awesome zombie action there. I agree with you, though, 100%. That was really cool.
And as much as I love Dave Bautista, really just filling out Scott Ward's character, because, man... He's like another. He's getting to the Rock status, in my opinion. Like, not only can he be funny,
different, yeah.
Not only can he be funny, but we're seeing like more of like this Blade Runner 2049 and upcoming Dune, that he's getting some high caliber roles, and that's a tremendous feat. Because not even the Rock, like, even though the Rock does account for a third of like Asian American Pacific Islander like character like hit films. He's a third of it, and that's really sad. Hollywood, you need to step this up a little bit. Yeah. Dave Bautista's getting up there for me. Like, especially 2049, like Blade Runner, where he was just that simple old robot, and he just gets fucked up by Ryan Gosling. So it was like, damn, like he does a great job. Like again, the little bit you give him, he lays it down for you.
Yeah,
But
I mean, Dave Bautista is doing a really good job of wanting to be an actor. You know, not this is in no way a negative on
No,
Dwayne,
not on The Rock.
On Dwayne Johnson at all. You know,
No, I love The
he's-
Rock. Nothing
he's-
like that.
He's awesome. He's super successful, and all his movies are really entertaining. But he's just kind of playing the same roles and playing to his strengths. You know, he's not really taking these roles that demand a lot of him as an actor, like playing different characters. Dave Bautista's been taking a whole different trajectory where, yeah, he does play Drax in the Guardians of the Galaxy and other Marvel movies. But
and Stuber.
yeah, and stupid. But like you said, he's taken a lot of these really interesting roles, like, you know, Blade Runner 2049 and working with Denis Villeneuve again and the upcoming Dune. He's picking a lot of these interesting roles that are more demanding as an actor, and he has to be this different character. And I thought he did a really good job here of playing, you know, the lead action hero, but doing so in a way where he's very like soft spoken and mild mannered. I thought that was a really interesting dimension to Scott as, you know, as a character, where he's not like this big brash. Yeah, like, physically he's this big, you know, intimidating force, but he's like a really like kind soul almost. And I thought Dave really played into that really well. He did such a good job.
He plays a great gentle giant. In other words, yes, he does
absolutely.
a great job with that.
That's the word I was looking for.
But another pro that I really loved about this movie was, you know, Zack Snyder never fails to hype up the females in this movie.
Yeah.
Like in all his movies, most of the time, like like that one video you showed me months ago, where it was just like all his female characters in movies and how strong they are.
Mm-hmm.
This one did not fail that at all. Kate, again, having a very motherly presence in this, but also fierce and like she's tough and stubborn, just, you know, like everybody else. Nora's character, Lily, aka the Coyote, she was awesome, very complex, where she wants to help women, but at the same time she knows she's failed at helping people.
Yeah.
So this is like her last redemption factor, that she doesn't want to lose anybody on this heist. And then Maria, you know, again, like I didn't say she was my favorite compared to Samantha Wynn's Chambers character, but if you really think about it, in the intro when they're all doing like their kind of like photo, like their like graduate pictures kind of thing, or school photos, she's a successful businesswoman. She was in Vegas before, like she was doing great in Vegas before the zombie wars, and she still utilized her skills to help with the search and rescue team. And so I thought that was really cool. And then who else? What else am I thinking of?
The Zombie Queen.
And the Zombie Queen. Thank you. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about her. She, again, I know she didn't have a whole lot to do, and I'm kind of hyping her up, but it was just her look and the fact that she's also leading this horde, that she was in charge of like the deals. Like that's pretty big. Like that's a second lieutenant kind of job. Like you're the right hand woman, and she led that. No zombies. You got the vibe that were like, oh, you're. How do I put it? Again, there wasn't a lot to really show that, but you got the vibe like, don't fuck with her either. You fuck with her like you fuck with him, like Zeus.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of liken their relationship to Leonidas and Queen Gorgo. Queen Gorgo. Yeah, where you know she's his queen, and he loves her so much. So if anything were to happen to her, like as we saw in the movie, he rips and tears and just sends the full force. Like we see that she had so much of an effect on him, and I thought that was such an interesting thing, that you know their relationship with each other. That it was something we haven't seen in a zombie movie, and like you said, where she's like the leader of the deals that are being made. The fact that you have to like make a trade, and she's the one in charge of that. I thought that was really cool for her character, and you know gave more dimensionality to a zombie than I guess any other movie has done for a zombie character in the past.
Yeah, and like without her deals, you know, Zeus, like when she made those deals, Zeus completely stayed out of the way. He just observed to make sure nothing happened to her, and if she cleared it, you're good. If she doesn't, he fucks you up, and so does she. Yeah,
so. and she definitely had the scariest sequences in the movie, where she's taking Theo Rossi's character into the heart of the Olympus Hotel, where she's like dragging him through the crowd, and all the zombies are just crowding around, and it was just a really, really creepy sequence, and you know she was at the center of it. So awesome, really well done with her.
Yeah, just shout out to Athena Parampil, who was the actress behind the Zombie Queen.
Absolutely.
Like, fantastic body work. She did not only did the makeup and the costume add to it, but just her mannerisms, her physicality. It really added more, just more layers to this character.
Yeah,
So.
it made it super unnerving, and yeah, like you said, just the way like she contorts and moves, awesome, and the sound design on her too was great.
Yeah, she definitely sounded different from like Zeus and the other zombies, so I really liked how they did that. I guess the last thing for me that I really want to give props to is just, the imagery in this movie. There was so much like foreshadowing and really just showing what like the scenery with Vegas, post zombie is really cool. They did a great job on that, like mostly being on green screen and stuff. Like it looked great, it looked real. It still has that like that graphic novel look to it, where it's like saturated but washed out at the same time. And then also Vanderho, which I thought at first when we first saw it, his little Omega thing, I thought that was a shout out to Justice League and Darkseid. But really, if you think about it, if we break it down, how Zeus was the alpha. Mount Olympus, he was the god of gods, essentially, in Greek mythology. And then by the end of it, when it's all turned to ash and everything is like nuclear fallout, Vanderho rises out of that safe, and he's infected, that we find out a couple minutes after that. I thought of it as like, holy shit, he just rose out of the ashes and brings out a new thing. Alpha, Omega, like heaven and the earth, or like heaven and hell, however you want to look at it, the beginning and the end. I just thought, oh shit, so instead of an alpha, he's an Omega zombie. Like, oh my god, I didn't think about it until I saw it again. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't, like, how did I miss that? Like,
yeah, I once you pointed that out to me, I was like, wow,
right? That took me a second.
Again, like you, I thought it was just like a cool little Easter egg for Darkseid and the Omega symbol and from Justice League and stuff. But when you put it that way, I was like, that just makes so much sense. And since we're talking about that aspect, the biggest positive for me with this movie was the zombie lore, and that plays into it so much. But this is the whole idea of the alphas, and how they're these smarter, more capable zombies, and how anyone they infect become these shamblers, just the regular typical zombies that we've seen in movies of the past. So I like how there's like it comes down like this whole chain of command, leading all the way up to the head honcho Zeus. That was such a cool thing, and how like he's a government experiment from Area 51, and we do see those two UFOs in the beginning take off. I didn't notice that in my first viewing.
Wait, I'm sorry. I gotta watch that again. There's UFOs in this movie now?
There's UFOs in the beginning scene when the convoy's leaving. You look up into the top left corner of the sky. There are two white lights, and they zip off.
Oh, shit. God damn it. I can't believe I missed it.
I was like, that's crazy. This is so cool. But yeah, just the zombie lore, and, like him and his queen, and how they're able to, procreate, and like they have their own society, and like him wanting to have these trades, like the idea of the trades, right? How anyone that he infects will become an alpha, but anyone they infect will just be shamblers, and how he wants this trade to kind of build up his army, like of alphas things. I thought that was such a cool, like, unspoken thing that you just have to like think about, like, well, okay, he wants these trades to have, like, again, his army to command. I thought that was so awesome. So just the whole zombie lore, and how we see zombies with like machinery in them. There's like robot zombies that they don't explain at all. It's just like, what is going on? It's just such cool things to think about for a zombie movie, and I really liked all that aspect of it. It was just awesome.
Before we wrap things up, Bern, and before I kind of get into what I want out of this, and kind of adding on to the Zeus topic and stuff, is there anything else that you loved about this movie as a good thing for this?
I guess just to add on to your last point about like how they did a Vegas stuff, just the technical work for the movie. I think a lot of the those people don't get as much of a credit that they deserve, and they absolutely deserve. All the makeup artists, the set designers, the costume designers. Yeah, the costume designers. They did such a great job of making these zombies look really scary and also unique. How they were almost kind of like Urukai-ish, especially Zeus as a
Dude,
leader.
Zeus with the metal helmet.
And the metal
I
helmet.
thought
Awesome.
I thought that was just a theatrical thing or like a primitive thing, but that was fucking genius. When they started shooting him and his bullets were bouncing, I was like, oh my fucking god, I'm so dumb.
Yep, and that and just like everything with the visual effects, you know, with the minor grievances that I did have, the most part, it was the visual effects were awesome, especially with Valentine and her scene the mauling Martin was just amazing.
I just thought Carol Baskin, bitch. But yeah, the tiger I thought was really well designed. I'm digging more zombie animals in these movies, like especially like not Dawn of the Dead, Game of Thrones, where we see the white Viserion or one of those other dragons become a White Walker dragon, and how he was just kind of becoming more skeletal and stuff. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, like I said, with the imagery with this movie and that cliffhanger scene, which is such a double-edged sword because I've been trying to read up on the Netflix deal, and so far it's 2 prequel films or something like that, and that animated series, which is titled Army of the Dead Lost Vegas, not Las Vegas, just to clarify.
Right.
So there are no sequels necessarily planned at this point, but because of the robot zombies, because of Vanderho becoming the Omega zombie, and going into Mexico City, I think there needs to be sequels. I know Hollywood is filled with sequels and remakes and reboots, but when it comes to original IPs like this one, I'm fine with sequels. I think everybody should welcome sequels because we can't have it end on that. I'm sorry, I will not. Netflix, if you play your cards right, you have a franchise that will bring in so much more, kind of like what they've done with their series, like The Witcher, and everything, and Castlevania and all that other stuff. So I want more of that. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, the cool factor with this movie is so up there. One of the coolest zombie movies I've ever seen, where these characters are all so unique. And I know I kind of said at first the weapons and stuff I thought could have been a little bit better, but honestly, I didn't see that complaint this time. I actually really liked, especially, the Lost Vengeance 3, where it's Maria, Scott, and Vanderho, like with his saw, Scott Ward's HK, like his 416, and her pistol and rifle. I thought, yeah, they're pretty legit. These 3 are the head honchos here. It was just, like I said, it was really hard for me to try and find stuff wrong with this movie. Those were just things I was like, yeah, they're okay, but not enough for me to say anything bad about this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat with you. With the majority of it just being so cool and so much fun to watch, you can forgive a lot of these things that you could potentially nitpick. And I was entertained very much throughout the whole thing. And like you, I want to see more from this universe, like not prequels, like you said, sequels. I want to see where this story continues. And as I mentioned before in the last spoiler-free review, Netflix is building up their original IP, so I can see Army of the Dead, that franchise being one of their main liners, and I'm sure they're already talking about it.
Yeah, and also too, one more couple things I loved. I know some people are gonna complain about this movie, like you said, how it takes so many from other movies, like the tropes and stuff like that. But I wasn't bothered by it. This is a movie that you just want to have fun with, especially in the beginning. How the whole the 4 horsemen transporting Zeus in that container. It was basically like when I told my dad about it, he was like, "Oh, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers." And I was like, oh, I've never seen that movie. But then when we're talking about the 2 soldiers that just ran into the desert, over the hill, that little hill, it was like right out of American Werewolf in London. And I think that's what I was just like, okay, this is really good. I like this already. Just because I love that scene where they're just in the moors or the desert and Zeus is just like hunting him, just like the werewolf did. And it's like, oh, are you going to help me up or not? Helps him up, just nope. Get fucked up.
Yep.
That's what you get for helping people. Oh man, but I'm glad we got to do this spoilers, man. This movie was just it kept me giddy so throughout this last month, because I've been looking forward to this for a while now. So now that it's finally here again, rewatch at least for the next month, just nonstop. That's the only thing I'm gonna use Netflix for.
Yep, just gotta pump those numbers up.
Yeah, that's rookie. You seen them twice? That's rookie numbers. You gotta pump those up twice a day. But But ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have seen it, please let us know in the comments what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. You know, we'd love to know. I would love to see, you know, other sides of this. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet and you watch this, hopefully you get to watch it and maybe go into it and see if you agree with us or not. But everybody, you know, stay bodacious, keep on ranting, and yeah, just don't get eaten by a zombie.
Absolutely. Everybody be good, be safe, and check yourself for bites, because you don't want to spread no zombie infection.
No, that's one thing we don't want. No, not at all. But I'll talk to you later, my brother.
Adios, man.
Deuces, man.